The private room was filled with laughter and conversation, but Archer and Laurel were in their own world, wrapped in each other's embrace. I stood outside the door, unable to put my emotions into words. My relationship with Archer had been a constant cycle of breaking up and making up. Every time we had a fight, he would sit on his high throne, waiting for me to come crawling back, wagging my tail like a loyal dog. And every time, he trampled my dignity underfoot without a shred of hesitation. The more unreasonable he became, the more I lost my principles. By the 12th day of our silent treatment, he had already moved on, openly flirting with another woman. He knew today was his birthday. He knew I would come. And he knew I would bring a gift, trying to make amends. Someone in the room joked, "Archer, are you really done with Erin? You chased her for 6 years." Archer pulled Laurel closer, took a slow drag from his cigarette, and smirked. "A plain little Cinderella likes to dream, so I gave her one, a sweet little fantasy of love. After all, she's never been loved before. But she actually thought she mattered to me." Laughter erupted in the room. "Then why did you chase her for so long?" Archer chuckled. "I just hated that I never got to sleep with her. I liked how she was both insecure and arrogant, so amusing." Laurel poked his chest. "What's so fun about an old virgin?" Archer exhaled a cloud of smoke, smiling lazily. "You're right, she's no fun at all. Uptight as hell. Let her keep it forever. I'm done." A sharp, suffocating pain tightened around my chest. And just like that, I felt nothing. As I turned to leave, all that was left in me was numb disappointment. The city lights flickered in the night. I tossed the carefully chosen birthday gift into a trash bin. If I couldn't hold on to the sand, I might as well let it slip through my fingers. The crowded streets were filled with people coming and going. Who was longing for someone they could never have? And who was simply indifferent? I grew up in a household filled with my parents' arguments and curses. After their divorce, my dad would bring different women home, forcing me to call them mom. When I refused, he would beat me senseless. Eventually, he abandoned me at my grandparents' house, never looking back. But they despised my mother. And by extension, they despised me. Even my so-called grandfather tried to violate me. I spent countless nights curled up behind the house, crying until dawn. No one was ever kind to me. No one ever wanted me to be happy. I became a pessimist when it came to love. I never believed that anyone could truly love me. So when Archer pursued me, I rejected him outright without a second thought. But he never gave up, not for 6 years. From high school to college graduation, he kept chasing me. No matter how coldly I pushed him away, he would always say, "I'll love you whether you love me or not." I tested him again and again, trying to prove he was lying. But he never left. He was always there. I thought, maybe he really did love me. And who doesn't want to be loved? 6 years. How many 6 years does a person get in their lifetime? I decided to give love a chance. I let my walls down. But just 1 week into our relationship, he couldn't wait to get me into bed. I believed that if we weren't married, we shouldn't do that. So I refused. But he wouldn't give up. He kept trying to coax and persuade me. When the rejections piled up, his patience ran out. That was when the emotional abuse began. Days of silent treatment. In the 2 years we were together, the balance of our relationship quietly shifted. His feelings faded, while mine grew deeper. People say that those who are slow to fall in love fall the hardest. I guess that's me. I kept compromising, kept lowering myself, kept trying to please him. Archer became the one in control. And whenever I refused to sleep with him, he would lash out in cruel, humiliating ways. Like abandoning me in the middle of a storm, no matter how bad the weather was. Like making crude jokes about me in front of his friends, letting them look at me with disgusting, mocking eyes. Like calling me in the dead of night to pick him up, only to tell me to get lost when I arrived. Like sending roses to other girls on holidays just to hurt me. And now, flaunting Laurel in front of me, letting them laugh at me, the Cinderella who didn't belong in their world. He enjoyed my suffering. He took pleasure in watching me break. But every time I cried, he would gently wipe away my tears. Then he would press his lips to my ear, whisper an apology, and in a husky voice, ask, "Will you give me your first time? If you do, I'll love you forever." He was just waiting for the last of my defenses to crumble. I thought about giving in. There were moments when my sadness felt unbearable, and I would think, no one in this world would ever love me more than he did. So what did it matter? But every time I was about to take that step, fear held me back. The fear that in the end, I would have nothing. Tonight, I had put on makeup and worn my prettiest dress. I had pushed aside all my doubts, ready to give myself to him completely. But instead, he crushed me. Everything had been a lie. I was never worth anything to him. He enjoyed seeing me stripped of my useless pride, swallowed whole by my own self-doubt, crawling at his feet. That's what truly satisfied him. I laughed out loud. And then the tears came, unstoppable. How ironic. My dull, uneventful life, and yet, someone had gone to such great lengths to break me. Looking back, every time I forgave him was a joke. Every time I said we couldn't be together without marriage, and he never once mentioned marriage, it was a joke. I had been trapped in the illusion of his love, unable to see the truth. Even my own parents didn't love me. Why would anyone else? At least, now I knew. My life had always been a mess. This was just me returning to square one. So why should I care? And yet, that suffocating sorrow clung to me like a shadow. I wasn't a machine. I had feelings. 8 years. Even a stray dog, if it stayed with me for 8 years, I would feel something when it left. I passed a dessert shop, wiped my tears, and went inside. I bought a slice of cake. Then a drink from the store next door. They say sweet things release dopamine, that they make people happy. I took a bite of the cake, a sip of the milk tea. The sweetness spread across my tongue. But all I could think about was Archer. Those were my happiest memories. A teardrop hit the back of my hand, and I realized I was crying again. It was all a lie. Why did eating something sweet make me feel even worse? I forced myself to keep eating, stuffing the food into my mouth. Maybe I was too lost in thought, I didn't see the person in front of me. I bumped into them, spilling my drink all over them. Panicked, I apologized, but in my haste, I dropped everything I was holding. I crouched down to pick them up. The cake had fallen to the ground. It was dirty now. No longer edible. Just like my shattered heart, broken beyond repair. Tears welled up in my eyes, my throat tightening painfully. I couldn't pretend I didn't care anymore. I was heartbroken. I buried my face in my knees, letting the tears fall. The man's voice rang out in front of me. I didn't even yell at you. Why are you crying? Slowly, I lifted my head. Through my tear-blurred vision, I saw Barrett. Archer's good friend. He rested his arm on his knee, the watch on his wrist reflecting the scattered city lights. He was crouching in front of me, looking at me with a calm expression. You okay? His voice echoed as if from a distant memory. Just like that night in my sophomore year of high school, when my grandfather suddenly appeared by my bedside in the middle of the night, scaring me so badly that I ran out in a panic, barely dressed. I had collapsed at the intersection, trembling all over. Archer had crouched in front of me, just like Barrett now, and asked, You okay? Time rewound in an instant, and the grief surged even stronger. Why was everything just a lie? Tears spilled even more fiercely. Barrett watched me for a moment before helping me up from the ground. It's just cake and a drink. I'll buy you another one. He bent down, picked up the ruined cake from the ground, and tossed it into the trash. Then, he led me to his car. Wait here. He closed the door and walked toward a nearby dessert shop. The neon lights of the city filtered through the car window, casting fractured colors inside. But they couldn't brighten the dim interior of the car. Just like nothing could illuminate the emptiness in my heart. Barrett returned soon with a new cake and a drink, shoving them into my arms. I'll take you home. At the final venue of the night, Archer kept glancing toward the entrance, growing more irritable by the second. He picked up his phone multiple times, only to throw it back down again. Cigarettes, one pack after another. Alcohol, one bottle after another. Everyone was waiting to see what kind of scene Aaron would cause tonight. Even Archer. He had even posted the location on his social media. But Aaron never showed up. Archer's friends were getting annoyed from waiting. Even Archer himself was starting to lose patience. He felt pathetic. He could have any woman he wanted, so why was he losing his mind over Erin? Why did it have to be her? Just then, the private lounge door opened. Archer immediately looked up, his anticipation obvious. But when he saw it was just a waiter delivering drinks, he sank back into the sofa, deflated. Irritated, he shoved Laurel, who had been clinging to him, away and lit another cigarette. Laurel swayed toward him again, but this time, Archer pushed her aside forcefully. Get lost. Her eyes welled up with tears. You can't hear me? I said, get lost. A tear finally slipped down her cheek. She got up and left, looking utterly humiliated. The room fell into an awkward silence. After a long pause, someone let out a dry laugh to ease the tension. Archer, you're still so impatient. Erin is practically your lapdog now. What are you so worried about? Laughter erupted around the room. Exactly. I mean, Archer is still wearing that bracelet Erin forced him to wear. Not to mention, every meal he eats has to be made by her. He doesn't have a choice. And she even knows his phone and bank passwords, logs into his accounts to check on him all the time. Just wait. Erin won't last the night. She'll be calling Archer, crying before morning. Archer absent-mindedly rubbed the bracelet on his wrist. The last few times he had pushed Erin far enough, she had almost ended up in his bed. He had felt her hesitation. That was why he had made sure to let Laurel stir things up tonight. Maybe, just maybe, Erin would finally give in completely. The thought of Erin, her gentle, delicate face, made his mind wander. He wondered, when she finally gave in, what would she look like? Tears streaming down her face? Silent and resigned? Or, Archer, you obviously care about Erin. Why not just marry her? Once she's your wife, you can do whatever you want. Are you dumb? Does Erin's background even match Archer's? He'd never marry her. His family is already arranging his marriage. For real? Archer, is that true? Archer said nothing. As his friends kept talking, he suddenly stood up and walked out. He couldn't wait any longer. Tonight, he was going to have Erin. I sat in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows in my apartment, the lights turned off. The city's once vibrant glow was fading into the late-night silence. The cake in the bag was a mess. The person I had finally allowed myself to like, was with someone else right now. Was he whispering sweet, wicked things into her ear? Was he making promises of forever, just as easily? In the dimly lit room, my emotions surged like a storm. But I wasn't ashamed of my sadness. Who, after truly loving someone, could walk away without feeling even a little pain? At 2:30 a.m., Archer's driver pulled up outside Erin's apartment. The night was silent. Every sound seemed amplified. Archer loosened his tie, his throat dry. He got out and made his way upstairs. But when he reached her door and entered the passcode, it wouldn't open. Again. And again. Each time, it was wrong. Frustrated, he kicked the door and started ringing the doorbell. Inside, I heard the noise but barely reacted. I knew it was Archer. I figured if I didn't respond, he would leave on his own. But then my phone started ringing. Again and again. He must have heard the ringtone from inside. Now, he was pounding on the door. I stared at his name flashing on the screen for a long time. Not wanting to disturb the neighbors, I finally answered. His voice, hoarse from alcohol, came through the line. Baby, I was wrong. Let's stop fighting, okay? It's my birthday. You didn't come to the party, I waited for you all night. But it's okay. If you won't come to me, I'll come to you. I can lose everything, but I can't lose you, my wife. I listened, expressionless, saying nothing. Tomorrow, let's go register our marriage, okay? I want you to have my children. I miss you so much, baby. Don't be mad anymore, just open the door, okay? Hearing that, I let out a quiet laugh. How could he say those things so effortlessly, right after doing what he did? Archer, let's break up. A long silence. Then, disbelief. What did you just say? Maybe my emotions had swung too wildly, I felt a dull headache creeping in. I closed my eyes briefly, then repeated. Let's break up. I've treated you so well, and you want to break up with me? Aaron, do you even have a heart? Thank you for being with me all these years. But from now on, let's not contact each other. Saying those words, my nose stung. Archer might not have been honest with me. But he was the person who had been by my side the longest. Too many love stories end in regret. Ours was just another one. You know I've stayed with you for so many years. You can really just throw me away like this? Do you think anyone else will love you like I do? No one will ever wait for you like I have. Don't break up with me, okay? His words flowed effortlessly, as if he truly loved me more than anyone else. Once, I had believed that. Now, I just found it laughable. There's nothing more to say. This is it. You really want to break up? Yes. His voice turned cold. I can't even sweet talk you into staying anymore? I don't need you to. Leave. Archer snapped. What the hell do you want? I've done all this, and you're still not satisfied? Aaron, do you really think you're that special? You think too highly of yourself. No wonder your parents abandoned you. No wonder your grandparents couldn't stand you. No wonder nobody loves you. You're just ungrateful. The person who knew you best always knew where to strike the hardest. His words cut deep, as if I had been the one to betray him. As if I had committed some unforgivable crime. I didn't respond. I just hung up. Furious, Archer punched the door before letting out a cold laugh and storming away. Archer got into the car. But he didn't tell the driver to start driving. Instead, he lit a cigarette. His original plan was to have Erin tonight and then break things off with her for good. After all, he was getting bored. Besides, he had never actually considered marrying her. As long as marriage wasn't on the table, he could do whatever crazy things he wanted for her. But if it came to marriage, her status simply wasn't presentable. Only, things didn't go as planned tonight. She actually beat him to it and broke up with him first. A fire burned in Archer's chest, stifling and unbearable. He had barely taken a few drags before crushing the cigarette between his fingers. There were always women around him. Any kind he wanted, he could have. But Erin was different, she didn't fall for his tricks. She was cold, guarded, impossible to sway. He had to be patient, take it slow. Only when she saw him as safe would she finally let him in. At first, it was just about the thrill of the chase. He refused to believe he couldn't make Erin fall for him. And just like that, 8 years had passed. Now, sitting there, Archer suddenly couldn't tell, was this still just about conquering her, or had he actually fallen for her? All he knew was that his anger wouldn't subside. How dare she not want him? Who did she think she was? Archer flicked the cigarette away, pulled out his phone, and made a call. Make things difficult for Erin at work. Maybe, after all these years with him, Erin had gotten too comfortable. She'd forgotten the kind of suffering she once endured. It was time for a reminder. Only then would she understand, having him by her side was a blessing. The next morning. I had just arrived at the office when I ran into Laurel. She was an intern, but she held quite a bit of influence. People said she had connections, but no one knew just how deep they ran. I only found out yesterday that she and Archer were from the same social circle. Good morning. She greeted me with her usual enthusiasm. But in her eyes, there was an unmistakable trace of mockery. I didn't bother trying to decipher her expression and simply replied, "Good morning." Laurel walked beside me. Thanks for finishing my work yesterday. Let me treat you to lunch today. Yesterday, she had begged me to help with her unfinished tasks. She said she was in a hurry to celebrate her boyfriend's birthday. I saw how anxious she was, so I helped her. What I hadn't expected was that the man she was rushing off to see was my boyfriend. I couldn't be bothered with someone like her, so I simply said, "No need." "Oh, come on, it's just a friendly meal. Don't be so cold." I stopped in my tracks and looked at her indifferently. "No need. We're not that close. We've known each other for so long. Are we really not even friends?" "No, we're not." With that, I continued walking. Laurel seemed insulted. She sneered, "What else can you do besides acting all high and mighty? Everyone knows your grandfather used you, so why are you pretending? Even Archer thinks you're filthy. He calls you Cinderella, but you actually think you're somebody? If I were you, I wouldn't even have the face to keep living. Those painful memories, Archer once pitied me for them. He used to say he regretted not showing up in my life sooner. But now, they had become a joke for others to mock. The sad part? I couldn't even refute Laurel's words. Rumors were intangible. I had no way to prove my innocence. And even if I could, no one would believe me. Laurel had status. She was beautiful and well-connected in the company. Many male colleagues fawned over her, and the female employees sought her favor. Between her and me, it wasn't hard to guess whose side they'd take. All I could do was endure their ridicule. It didn't matter. I had seen enough of human nature. One more time made no difference. I looked at Laurel with feigned indifference. You're barking like a mad dog this early in the morning. Did Archer kick you out? Her face twisted with rage. What do you think you are? Do you really believe you mean something to Archer? You have the audacity to say no marriage, no sex? Please, Archer would never marry someone as filthy as you. You pretend to be pure, but inside, you're completely rotten. I didn't lose my temper. The first to break down always loses. I simply smiled, my voice light. You're right. And yet, Archer still doesn't want you. That's the real tragedy here. Did you know? He showed up at my place drunk at 2 in the morning. Isn't that pathetic? He is someone as noble and clean as you, yet he keeps coming back to me. A man like that, I'd hand him to you, but even you can't hold on to him. What a waste. You can't seduce him, so you take your anger out on me? That's just embarrassing. If I were you, I wouldn't even have the nerve to come pick a fight. The words felt satisfying to say. But deep inside, they stung. I hated this kind of disgraceful back and forth. But in the end, I wasn't the one who started it. Laurel's face flushed red with fury, her lips trembling. I turned and left, not wasting another breath. I knew she wouldn't let this go. But I hadn't expected the storm to come so quickly. The moment I stepped into the office, everyone's eyes were filled with curiosity and scorn. I sat down and opened my computer. New emails flooded both my company inbox and personal account. The company emails were full of photos of me. Explicit, graphic photos. In them, the faces belonged to me and my grandfather. They were AI-generated fakes. And the sender was Laurel. The truth didn't matter to the world. People believed what they wanted to believe. To them, this was my dirty past. Because how could someone young, beautiful, educated, and capable be so perfect? Oh, now it made sense. Her past was filthy. That explanation eased their jealousy, their sense of injustice. And then they could hypocritically say, how sad. I'd rather be plain and ordinary. What could I do? Stay silent? Would silence even help? I opened my personal email. The document inside made me freeze. After a long moment, I replied, thank you. The response came instantly. No need. Time overlaps again. It felt like that year when I woke up in the hospital and saw Archer sitting by my bed. In that moment, all the emotions I had bottled up condensed into a single sentence, thank you. And he simply replied, no need. My heart, which had long grown numb, suddenly ached. The past had long since faded into the wind. Yet, even now, the slightest resemblance to him in someone else still made my heart clench. As my vision blurred, I tilted my head back, forcing the tears to retreat. Tears were trophies for others to claim. And I refused to surrender. I opened my laptop and started typing. They probably assumed I would just stay silent. So, they didn't even bother lowering their voices when they talked about me. She doesn't talk much or get close to people. Is she afraid of others finding out about her past? As if keeping quiet means no one will know? I have a classmate who went to high school with her. I heard her family situation was a mess, especially her relationship with her grandfather. She used to hang out with delinquents all the time. Her personal life was a total disaster. She looked so pure. Who would have thought she was that dirty? I heard her boyfriend is rich and handsome. What does he see in her? He got fooled by her innocent-looking face, obviously. A woman who's been used up, what makes her think she deserves a good man? Is she even worthy? The complexity of human nature was on full display at that moment. When you hit rock bottom, everyone else stands on their pedestals, judging you. They hide the ladder that could save you and watch as you crawl through the abyss. And when you can no longer get up, they feel justified in condemning you, cursing you, ridiculing you. No one ever stops to ask why you can't get up. If no one cares about the truth, why should I bother proving myself? With a click of my mouse, I completed the final step. Seconds later, the entire office erupted. The woman in this email isn't Erin. It's Laurel. No way. I just saw Erin's name there a moment ago. Look at this, Laurel is just the daughter of a housekeeper. Oh my God. There are even records of Laurel checking into hotels with different men? She really gets around? And just like that, I was forgotten by the world. All eyes were now on Laurel. The same people who had defended her just moments ago had suddenly become her judges. No one cared about the truth. No one cared how she felt. I didn't need to prove my innocence, I just needed someone else to take my place in the spotlight. Laurel, eyes red with fury, charged at me, raising her hand to slap me. I stood up and caught her wrist, yanking her off with force. I had grown up in the mud, I wasn't some delicate, pampered girl. My strength wasn't small. With that one throw, Laurel crashed into the workstation across from us. Coincidentally, the guy sitting there was texting his friends at that very moment. On his screen was an explicit photo of Laurel. In the group chat, crude comments about her body filled the conversation. Laurel snapped. She grabbed his phone and smashed it before slapping him across the face. Then, she went straight for his eyes, trying to claw them out. You disgusting fat pig. You think you're worthy of looking at me? Unfortunately for her, the man wasn't the type to take a beating quietly. He stood up, grabbed a chair, and swung it at her. You filthy bitch, you think you're better than me? You think you're some kind of queen? If it weren't for your family begging my dad, do you really think your pathetic little diploma would have gotten you into my company? Just because people praised you a little, you actually started believing you were someone special? You think you're better than Erin? With your background, you wouldn't even make a blip in our social circles. You're more of a joke than Erin. At least she knows how to stay in her lane. You got used and thrown away, and now you want to drag someone else down with you? You think I don't deserve to look at your pictures? Well, guess what? I'm looking now. The man lunged at her, hands tearing at her clothes. People stood around watching. Not a single person stepped in. Laurel, the once pristine princess, had fallen into the dirt, reduced to a spectacle. I turned away, my expression indifferent, numbed by the sight. This dog-eat-dog show was nothing but a tedious farce. Now I had to find a new job again. Annoying. But no matter how annoying, it wouldn't be worse than staying here. By the time I drove away, the morning rush had already passed. I didn't head straight home. Instead, I aimlessly roamed the empty streets of the city. Since I started working, I had barely given myself a break. But today, I was completely free. Before I knew it, I had driven into another city. A place I loathed. A place I had desperately tried to escape. For some, it was home. For me, it was hell. By the time I realized where I was, I found myself staring at the gates of my old high school. The towering sycamore tree still stood tall. Its leaves rustled under the sweltering summer breeze. The stationery stores and snack shops on both sides of the street were still there. Groups of students walked toward the school in twos and threes. Another graduation season had arrived. Whose youth was free of regret? Whose youth was filled with it? A distant melody drifted into my ears. Let me settle into dust. Bury the past with silence. Through storms and waves, I came from the sea. Only to hide away in this desert. For a brief moment, it felt as if an invisible force had pulled me back in time. Memories of Archer suddenly cracked open. My mind began releasing fragments of him. My parents divorced when I was in elementary school. My grandparents despised me, but out of obligation, they still raised me. Occasionally, my grandfather would show kindness, holding my hand, telling me to be obedient. Back then, I couldn't read the filth in his gaze. I only wanted to please him, hoping he would love me. But his touches became more unsettling. He would grip my hands, rubbing them in ways that made my skin crawl. I didn't like it. I started avoiding him. When I got to high school, I chose to live on campus without hesitation. I avoided going home whenever I could. Back then, I thought, just 3 more years. If I could endure 3 more years, my life would finally start anew. But those 3 years weren't easy. My grandfather would show up at school to take me home. People started whispering about my family. Rumors spread like wildfire. Everyone knew my parents were divorced. Everyone knew I was an unloved child. Everyone whispered that I was my grandfather's toy. Some even laughed about how many men I had slept with. Slowly, I became the school's punching bag. Everything I did, what I wore, what I ate, how I styled my hair, became someone's joke. The class bully once asked, in front of everyone, how much I charged for a night. He wanted a monthly package. When seating arrangements changed, my deskmate would swap places with him just to put him next to me. When cleaning duties were assigned, I was deliberately paired with him. The teachers turned a blind eye. That was the darkest time of my life. I even thought about dying. I thought about enduring. But every time I tried to pull myself together, the filth of humanity would crush my will again. And it was during that time, when I stood at the edge of death, that Archer appeared. That day, my dad forcibly took me home. He was my biological father. When he dragged me into the car, the bystanders only watched. No one dared to step in and help me. When we got home, he brought another woman with him. Just like before, he told me to call her mom. I refused, no matter what. Enraged, he grabbed a whip, ready to hit me. The woman he brought back shielded me in her arms, and the whip landed on her instead. Her voice was gentle as she reassured me, telling me not to be afraid. Then, she snatched the whip from my dad's hand. She handed me something she was holding, her voice soft as she said, "Don't be scared. I won't let him hurt you." Inside the bag were a cake and a drink. At that time, I had never eaten cake or tasted a soft drink before. The moment the sweet scent reached me, tears rolled down my face. No one had ever spoken to me so kindly before. If only I had a mother. She wiped away my tears, pierced the drink with a straw, and held it up to my lips. Looking at me with warmth in her eyes, she said, "It's really good. Try it?" Her gaze was so kind, as if she truly cared. I gave in and took a sip of the milk tea. I thought, even if she was a stepmother, as long as she took me away from this place, it would be 1,000 times better than my current life. But that night, my whole body felt weak. I woke up from a nightmare to the sound of thunder roaring outside. In the flickering light from the storm, my grandfather's sinister and twisted face loomed over me, terrifying beyond words. It was then I realized, there was something wrong with that drink. A burning heat surged through my eyes. I had been so naive to believe that woman had any good intentions toward me. Anyone willing to be with my father, how could she be a good person? Thankfully, I had only taken one sip. The moment my grandfather lunged at me, I grabbed the self-defense spray beside me and aimed it straight at his eyes. As he screamed and covered his face, I snatched up the hot water bottle next to me and poured the scalding water onto his lower body. His agonized screams filled the room. Hearing the commotion, my grandmother rushed in, but I shoved her aside and ran. My emotions surged to their peak as I fled, my limbs trembling uncontrollably. I feared someone would suddenly chase me from behind. I feared someone would block my path ahead. I didn't know how long I ran. All I remembered was collapsing at an intersection. My face hit the ground hard, my mind buzzing, unable to get up for a long time. Just then, a pair of shoes appeared in front of me, and my heart leapt to my throat. I tried to get up, but my body wouldn't move. Archer crouched down in front of me, looking at my disheveled state with concern. "Are you okay?" Not my grandfather. Not my father. At that moment, it felt like a drowning person suddenly seeing a lifeline. All the emotions I had suppressed exploded at once. I couldn't say a word, I just kept crying. Archer helped me up and draped his jacket over me. Then, he took me to the hospital. His voice was soft as he comforted me, showing me his student ID and identification card. He told me not to be so scared. That everything would be okay. Back then, to me, he was like the warm sun. The noise of the present pulled me back to reality. The memories faded as I parked the car. Exhausted, I slumped over the steering wheel. My phone chimed with a notification. It was a mention in the alumni group chat. A usually quiet chat, now flooded with over 99 messages. I clicked on it. Archer was sending red envelopes. Then someone tagged me. Aaron, are you and Archer getting married? Congratulations. True love wins. Wishing you happiness. Someone else teased. Honestly, I never expected Archer to be this devoted. Right? He looks like a heartbreaker, but he's actually loyal. Ha ha ha. Aaron, say something. Archer replied. She's mad at me. Won't talk to me. Says she wants to break up. Then why aren't you apologizing? Archer. Tell me how to make it up to her. I don't know how. Aren't you the king of persistence? Why are you asking us? Archer tagged me. Baby, please don't be mad at me. Don't leave me. If only everything could go back to the way it was. If only life had a rewind button. But it was too late. Everything had already changed beyond recognition. We could never go back. Calmly, I typed a single line. Archer and I have broken up. Then, I left the group chat. I also exited every other related chat. Almost instantly, Archer's call came through. I hung up and blocked him on everything. At last, the world was silent. I turned to look outside. Numb. Indifferent. I sat in the parking lot outside the school for an entire day. As the city lights flickered on, I found a cafe and ordered a hot coffee. The steam rose, warming my face, making my eyes sting. Despite everything I had been through, I still hadn't gotten used to being alone. Is he that important to you? A smooth, calm voice interrupted my thoughts. Barrett sat down across from me. At the moment I looked up, a tear fell into my cup. Embarrassed, I turned my face away. What are you doing here? Barrett smiled slightly. Is Archer really that important to you? I hesitated. Nodded. Then shook my head. How could he not be important? But no matter how much he meant to me, I had to let go. Was he good to you? Barrett asked again. I thought for a moment. He was okay. At least, from my perspective, he was the best person to me. Barrett, do you know the fastest way to forget someone? I stared at my coffee. What? Start a new relationship. I don't want to date anymore. I'm exhausted. Then get married. Who would marry me? I would. I froze, looking up at Barrett. His expression was serious. It took me a while to process what he just said. We don't even know each other that well, Barrett. He took a sip of water and chuckled. You ate the cake I bought, drank the drink I gave you, used the email I sent you, and now you're telling me we're not close? No wonder Archer says you're heartless. Only then did I remember, the email about Laurel had come from Barrett. I felt awkward. Thank you for helping me. Barrett, I have to say, for a computer genius, your email swap was pretty seamless. You've been watching Laurel for a while? She's been around Archer for a long time. You just didn't know. I nodded and took a sip of my coffee. I felt awful. But I also understood, if someone can be taken away, they were never truly mine. Even if it wasn't Laurel, it would have been someone else. Sooner or later. Casually, I asked, don't tell me you did all this for me? Barrett met my gaze without hesitation. If I said yes, would you believe me? I didn't blink. No. Barrett chuckled and slid a document in front of me. Are these conditions good enough for you to marry me? I didn't take the documents. I rejected them outright. Marriage isn't a necessity in my life, and I don't love you. Barrett placed the documents directly in my hands. Marry me. If I ask for a divorce, I'll leave with nothing. If you ask for a divorce, 50% of my personal assets will be yours. No one will dare bully you again. You can use me however you want, I'll be your shield. If marriage isn't a necessity for you, then just consider it an option. Let me be one of those options. Aaron, you've got nothing to lose. I flipped through the prenuptial agreement with little interest. Do you take me for a fool? A deal this good doesn't just fall into my lap. The way you're acting makes you seem like a scam artist. I shut the documents and tossed them back to Barrett. I'm not interested in marrying you. Then, I made it clear he should leave. "You can go now." But Barrett didn't move. You backed Laurel into a corner. "She won't let this go." "And Archer?" "He won't let you live in peace either." I frowned. It had taken me a lot of effort to establish myself in this city. I had just bought my home, not long ago, and I still had a mortgage to pay. I couldn't just sell it and leave, like those rich people could. I didn't have the luxury of starting over whenever I pleased. Laurel's scandalous photos had spread everywhere. She wouldn't retaliate against anyone else. She would come for me. Even if I reported her, at most, she'd get locked up for a day. But she wouldn't be in there forever. I'd be trapped in a never-ending cycle. And then there was Archer. He could discard me when he got bored. But if I wanted to leave him? Impossible. He would do whatever it took to make my life hell. As long as Archer and Laurel were around, I would never have peace. Maybe marrying Barrett really was the best choice. But it didn't sit right with me. Barrett continued, "Even if we divorce in the future, I'll make sure you're protected for the rest of your life." He raised a hand and gently stroked my cheek. His thumb brushed against my lips. "The contract is legally binding. Even if I were a scammer, the only thing I want to steal is your heart." I grabbed his hand. "Don't do that." He flipped his hand, holding mine instead. "Don't do what?" "Barrett. I'm here. I don't have a heart anymore." "Then what are you afraid of?" "Yeah. I didn't have a heart anymore. So what was I afraid of? Living under Archer and Laurel's torment? Or stepping into the illusion of love that Barrett had spun for me? Even if it was fake, at least it would bring me some temporary peace. When the marriage certificate fell into my hands, I felt dazed. The midsummer wind whispered through the plane tree branches. Sunlight glowed on the red cover of the certificate, like shackles of fate. I didn't know what the future held. I just wanted this moment of peace. Barrett held my hand, and we strolled down the quiet streets in the afternoon. Just like that time, years ago, when Archer had led me out of the hospital and walked me back to school. Slow and unreal. My memory swayed, back and forth. A beam of light cut through time, piercing straight into my heart. And then, everything turned into black and white. There was no one left in my memories who still shined. My youth no longer had a story. A sudden sourness rose in my nose. I didn't even know why I was sad. I just couldn't let go of the past in that moment. Barrett's phone rang. It was a work call. He answered, spoke only a few words, then hung up. "There's an emergency at the office. I need to head back." I nodded. "Go ahead. I'll head home first." Barrett stared at me for a long moment, then suddenly kissed me hard. When he finally let go, he rested his forehead against mine. "Do you really want me to leave that badly?" I lowered my gaze. "Don't you have work? Come with me." "No." He chuckled, his voice deep and husky. "Then wait for me at home. Tonight, I'm claiming my rights as a husband." I dodged away from his breath, feeling flustered. Ever since Erin announced her breakup in the alumni group chat and blocked Archer. Archer had unilaterally started a cold war with her. He knew Erin. 8 years together, he was in her blood by now. She wouldn't be able to let him go. So this time Archer completely cut off contact. Vanished without a trace. He thought, once Erin truly realized she had lost him, she would understand his importance. But 1 week passed. Then 2. 1 month. Then 2. She didn't make a single move. His temper worsened. Archer tried not to think about Erin. Because the more he thought about her, the more it drove him insane. It had taken him 6 years to get into her heart, to make her his girlfriend. She had never wanted to sleep with him, so he endured it for 2 years. One time, he had almost had her. Almost. But she cried. In that moment, if he had just pushed forward, she would have completely belonged to him. But seeing her tears, his heart ached unbearably. For the first time in his life, he hesitated. For the first time, he let go of something he already had in his grasp. Instead, he dressed her back up and stupidly held her all night while they watched Titanic. His friends mocked him for it for an entire year. He might have always teased her, but he truly loved her. How could she hurt him like this? When his car pulled up outside Aaron's home, night had just begun to settle over the city. Archer clenched his fists and stepped out. At that moment, he wanted her. Even if it meant marrying her. He hurried to her door. Raised his hand to knock. Then hesitated. Just like back when he had first pursued her. Nervous. Uncertain. No matter how she treated him, he had always shamelessly wagged his tail for her. I didn't move into the so-called marital home Barrett had bought. But every night, he followed me back to mine. For the past 2 months. Every morning, he got up early to make me breakfast. At night, if he wasn't working late, he would drag me to the supermarket to shop for groceries, then cook dinner. On nights when he was busy, he worked from home. I'd glance back while cooking, and I'd see him in the living room, fully focused on his work. The abstract idea of home had finally taken shape in these 2 months. He respected me. Even though he always talked about claiming his rights as a husband. For the past 2 months, he had never actually touched me. He took me to the hospital, and that was when I realized. My fear had nothing to do with marriage. It was a psychological wound from my youth. A trauma. Barrett took my recovery more seriously than I did. He was endlessly patient, endlessly gentle. Even when he was barely holding himself together, if I showed even the slightest discomfort, he would stop immediately. Sometimes, I felt like he truly loved me. But I didn't know what part of me he loved. Every time he looked at me, my heart raced so much I couldn't meet his gaze. Like a starving beast, just waiting for the chance to devour me whole. Today was no different. He couldn't even wait until we got out of the elevator, his lips were on mine the moment the doors closed. One hand holding the groceries, the other pressing against the back of my head, he kissed me fiercely, with an almost reckless hunger. Then, with a soft ding, the elevator doors slid open. He didn't stop. Still kissing me, he walked us out. The crinkle of a plastic bag hitting the ground, our unsteady breaths, the sound of hurried, uncoordinated footsteps, everything mixed together into a scene so intense it was almost unbearable to look at. I didn't even notice Archer approaching. Not until the sharp scent of cigarette smoke hit me. Then came his voice. Aaron. I froze. Instinctively, I tried to push Barrett away. But he held me against his chest instead, shielding me. His eyes, still dark with lingering desire, lifted lazily toward Archer. In that instant, Archer's fury ignited. Maybe he was beyond angry. Maybe it was the sheer weight of disappointment, the kind that seeped into his voice, making every word cut deeper. Aaron, when I kissed you, you always pulled away. But now, you couldn't even wait until you got out of the elevator? 8 years, Aaron. Not 8 days. What was I to you? Is your heart made of stone? Did you really think I wouldn't feel a damn thing? Even now, he still didn't think he'd done anything wrong. Maybe I was never enough for him, never good enough to stand beside him. Maybe that's why, no matter what he did, even if it hurt me, I was supposed to be grateful. Because someone like me should have felt honored to have even a fraction of his attention. I stayed in Barrett's arms, unmoving. And then, in the calmest voice, I said, Archer, there's nothing more to say. Let's end this. That was when Archer finally broke. He reached for me, trying to pull me away. But Barrett shoved him off effortlessly. And that's when Archer saw Barrett's face. His whole body went rigid. His hands trembled as he pointed at Barrett. It's you? Then, as if his last thread of restraint snapped, Archer swung at Barrett. I treated you like a friend, and you went and slept with my woman? Barrett caught his fist midair and tossed him aside. His voice was cool, indifferent. She scares easily. Don't make a scene here. Find a place, I'll fight you. Archer gritted his teeth so hard his jaw twitched. Fine. You asked for it. Barrett pulled me from his arms, bent down to pick up the groceries, and opened the door. Before I could react, he kissed my forehead. Wait for me at home. Then he pushed me inside and shut the door behind me. Just before it closed completely, I caught one last glimpse of Archer's eyes. They were red. Like he loved me so much it hurt. Maybe he did. After all, you don't stay by someone's side for 8 years without a reason. But now, how much of that love was left? Or was it just his pride, unable to accept that something he thought was his had been taken away? That was all it was. Out in the open countryside, where the night stretched vast and empty, the moment the car doors slammed shut, Archer launched himself at Barrett. You call yourself human? You slept with your own brother's woman? Archer had lost it completely. His punches came fast and relentless. Barrett wasn't quick enough to dodge all of them, he took quite a few hits. But once Archer started tiring, Barrett struck back. Hard. Brother? Who the hell is your brother? That mistress of a mother you have doesn't deserve to be compared to mine. And for the record, she was never your woman. No wonder your mom liked being the other woman. Guess taking what doesn't belong to you runs in the family. 8 years, and you couldn't win her heart. Meanwhile, all it took me was 2 months. She's already forgotten about you, Archer. She doesn't even believe you ever truly loved her. Archer's whole body shook with rage. Shut up. They were evenly matched, neither could gain the upper hand for long. Before long, both of them were bleeding. Yet Barrett still carried that damn smirk, cold and unbothered. The moment I found out you spent 8 years chasing Aaron and still failed, I knew it, you actually cared. But the thing is, you didn't even realize it yourself. And that's why you're a joke. A joke, just like how your mother turned mine into one. Archer's face was ashen, his whole body stiff with fury. He wanted nothing more than to tear Barrett apart. His punches got heavier, each one thrown with the intent to break. I never treated you badly, Barrett. But you're nothing but a backstabbing piece of shit. What did she ever do to deserve this? Do you even realize you're destroying her? Barrett just laughed. Did you ever stop to think about that when you were the one hurting her? The betrayal you're feeling now? That's exactly what she felt when you betrayed her with Laurel. You really think she'll ever forgive you? She's never coming back to you, Archer. Archer roared and drove his fist straight into Barrett's face. This time, he didn't hold back. But the moment the punch landed, his whole body seemed to crumble. He staggered, then dropped to his knees, gasping, shaking, looking utterly wrecked. Barrett, you're a fucking monster. Barrett wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. If I am, I learned from the best. Then he turned and walked away. When he reached his car, he paused. Without turning back, he said, Erin stayed with you because she thought you truly loved her. Not because she loved you. That's why, whoever loves her more is who she'll choose. You were never that important to her. Barrett told me to wait for him. I didn't. I went to bed early. But I kept waking up. And when my phone rang again, dragging me out of sleep, I saw an unknown number on the screen. I hesitated for a few seconds, then answered. The moment I did, Archer's voice came through, unhinged laughter spilling through the line. Don't bother waiting. Barrett's dead. I killed him. I frowned, staying silent. Archer kept going. You know who Barrett is? He's my half-brother. Then his laughter turned crazed. You think he was with you because he loved you? He was using you. To get back at my mother. To get back at me. He never loved you. Erin, who else would love you but me? Come back to me. Only I ever really loved you. The words came too fast, too heavy. My mind stalled for a moment. Barrett was Archer's half-brother? Everything clicked. Suddenly, everything made sense. And just like that, a dull ache settled in my chest. It wasn't sharp. It was faint, but it lingered. And yet, strangely enough, I felt relieved. This made more sense. No one had ever loved me for no reason. I guess I had never really believed it, anyway. So right now, I wasn't even sad. I let out a quiet, mocking laugh. And then what? You're gonna marry me? Silence. Then, Archer finally spoke. Erin, do you even have a heart? I answered calmly. No. Then I hung up. Almost immediately, an email notification popped up. It was from Archer. An audio file. I tapped it open. It was a recording of Barrett and Archer's fight. In the stillness of the room, every word Barrett spoke rang out with perfect clarity. His voice echoed in my ears, growing louder and louder, until it was deafening. I hadn't even noticed when Barrett arrived. Not until he was sitting in front of me, lifting a hand to gently wipe away the tears that had unknowingly fallen down my cheeks. Only then did I finally register his presence. I turned my head away, dodging his touch. Barrett, we. Before I could finish my sentence, he cupped my face and kissed me deeply. Bruises covered his face, a patchwork of blue and purple. He had taken quite a beating. It wasn't a pleasant sight, but it gave him a rugged, untamed allure. His kiss was fierce, almost punishing. For a long, long time, he didn't let go. When he finally pulled away, his forehead rested against mine, and our eyes met. Archer's mother was one of my mom's patients. Her condition was serious, and their family was struggling financially, so my mom took extra care of her. To support her, my dad set up a charity fund at the hospital, covering all the costs of that woman's treatment. But she took advantage of my mom's kindness to get close to my dad. She was the reason my parents' marriage fell apart. My mom was betrayed by the person she loved, stabbed in the back by someone she helped. Depression consumed her. And even then, that woman kept showing up, taunting her, pushing her deeper into the abyss, until she never made it out. Barrett's eyes were bloodshot, tears pooling at the corners. Aaron, I won't lie to you. When I got involved with you, part of it was to get back at Archer. My feelings for you weren't pure. They weren't selfless. But I truly want to be with you. To share a life with you. Archer isn't right for you. If you want a divorce, I'll respect your choice. I stared at the man in front of me. He looked like he was about to break apart, like a glass figurine on the verge of shattering. He was another version of me, learning to heal in a life filled with fractures. I reached out and gently wiped the tear from the corner of his eye. Barrett, have you ever loved someone you could never have? He took my hand, pressing a soft kiss to my fingertips. No. I lowered my gaze. I didn't know if I felt relieved or disappointed. After a moment, I slowly curled my fingers around his. Barrett, let's lean on each other from now on. At that moment, it felt like my heart had finally found solid ground. His flaws, his imperfections, they made everything feel real. Barrett lifted my chin. Aaron, once you say it, you can't take it back. I laughed. I won't take it back now, but that doesn't mean. Before I could finish, he kissed me again. This time, there was no restraint. No pause. His voice drifted against my ear, rising and falling like a tide. Tonight, no matter how much you cry, I have every right to be here. You're hurt. This little injury is just part of the fun. Barrett. Call me baby. The early autumn breeze drifted through the open window, scattering moonlight across the floor. For the first time in my life, I had someone to walk this road with. I didn't know how far we'd go. But I still wanted to walk side by side with him through this world. Dreams are filled with flowers. Reality is filled with broken glass. But he was real. Right beside me. So we kept moving forward. Until the past was nothing but a blur in the distance. Until our souls could no longer heal. Epilogue. At first, Archer didn't believe Aaron and Barrett were married. Not until she shoved the marriage certificate in his face. He stared at the document in her hand, unmoving. For a moment, his mind went completely blank. He never thought Barrett would actually go through with it. Barrett had always been ambitious. Destroying Archer wasn't enough, he wanted to bring down the entire Chin family. There was no way he would choose to marry Aaron. Yet there she was, standing so calmly at Barrett's side. As if the 8 years she had spent with Archer had never left even a trace on her heart. She looked at him with cold, detached eyes. And yet, like a fool, he still asked her, Barrett said you never loved me. Is that true? Aaron's gaze was as flat and unremarkable as a glass of water. She looked at him calmly and asked. Archer, do you really not know whether I loved you or not? Why even ask? At that moment, he glanced at the bracelet on his wrist, and his eyes stung. Then, suddenly, he laughed. Aaron had always known his phone password, his bank account PIN. She used to check them constantly, making sure he wasn't talking to other women. Whenever she had time, she would cook for him and bring meals to his office. If she saw him with another woman, she'd cry in anger. How could she have never loved him? He had destroyed her love with his own hands. burned the hope in her eyes to ashes. The realization crushed him. He had always thought of himself as untouchable, someone who could glide through life without getting caught up in emotions. That love could never cut him. But now, the pain in his chest was suffocating. He wandered aimlessly through the empty streets. Another autumn had arrived. The cold wind carried fallen leaves across the pavement. Music played from a distant speaker, drifting through the alleys. The wish to grow old with you is gone. You told me not to create my own sorrow. Everyone can forget someone completely. Only after love is lost do you realize how deep it ran. Only after getting drunk do you understand how strong the wine was. And only after their story had ended did he finally understand what he had lost. In a lifetime, a love that is truly pure and sincere only comes once. He had given his to Erin. And she had given hers to him. But they had never made it to the end. Late at night, regret consumed him. If only he had married her sooner. If only he hadn't done all those foolish things. If only he had realized his feelings earlier, would Barrett have never had the chance to step in? But the world doesn't deal in if-onlys. So he could only circle endlessly between regret and acceptance. Drifting through life, carried by the tide of time. In the days that followed, Barrett kept his word. No one came to bother me anymore. I rarely saw Archer again. I heard that he and Barrett were locked in a brutal business war, and in the end, his company teetered on the edge of collapse. Laurel and the man who had once admired her photo turned on each other. That man became obsessed with tormenting her, making her life a living nightmare. She was too busy trying to survive to come after me. And just like that, my life finally settled into peace. Each morning, I woke to the golden sunrise, the crisp chirping of birds, the murmurs of people moving through the streets. And suddenly, the world seemed beautiful again. As for Barrett, he still dragged me to the supermarket to buy groceries, cooking dinner with me afterward. No matter how late it was, if he wasn't away on business, he always came home. There were never any other women around him. He despised betrayal too much for that. Honestly, whether his love was pure or not, whether his heart was wholly mine, none of it mattered anymore. A peaceful life, steady and undisturbed. That was enough for me. The end.